seats. We'll kick off like this. Come and have a seat. Do it.
We're going to actually get you on the panel without doing the...
Oh, that's cool. Do you want to do housekeeping first? In a minute.
Huh?
We'll do all the housekeeping.
We'll do all the housekeeping bits, but they can sit there and we can poke fun at them. Get involved.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. We live?
I think I've got the dud mic, but certainly got a few more minutes of battery. Anyway, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dave Newman. This is the gorgeous Scott Glue.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for braving the shitty weather out there and getting here for this. We've got some more seats down the front as well. But I think we're all good.
Yeah, we're good. So we do this every 2 weeks, rain, hail or shine, with the exception of the summer where we get a little bit of a break. We're also joined by the lovely Erin and also Nina, who is one of our panel members today. And we come here every 2 weeks, rain, hail or shine, to basically put on great talks and presenters like this. We're all volunteers. We do this for the love. We've been doing this. I've been doing this since 2013. You were a bit earlier.
Yeah, I was a bit earlier, but then I buggered off to the US.
You buggered off for a bit, and kept going.
Back.
So we're one of Australia's largest meetup groups. If you're new here, we're just under or just over 7,500 now.
Sure.
Like that, members.
Yeah. Look at us all.
And we have a very quick. We have a very quick format. We're going to try and rush through this because we want to put more time to talking about AI. But are there any shameless plugs or announcements? So basically, and I'm going to say, if you're an AI consultant trying to sell to the world, do not stand up in the nicest possible, politest way. We want to talk about startups.
If you want to. But if you're a real AI consultant, you would have had your AI doing it for you by now. So.
Exactly. So, does anybody want to stand up and introduce themselves and tell us what you're working on? We've got one here. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Alex from InStep. We are a competitive fitness app where you can join daily fitness challenges with other players to help you stay motivated on your fitness journey. You can check it out now on instep.fit or in the Play and App Store. Thanks.
Awesome. Instep.fit. Get around it.
Good. Is there anybody else want to do a shameless plug?
Come on, who's working on something cool?
There we go. There's got to be someone.
G'day everyone, my name's Sam, I'm an app developer. If you want an app build, come talk to me.
Hey. How many of you guys are developers? Guys and girls?
How many are consultants?
All right. How many are just product people building a startup? All right,
excellent.
Good
We've got the right audience.
Nice. Shameless plug from me, modelcombat.ai. Give it a go if you like comparing prompts from different engines or different models and stuff. I built a little interface that hits all the models, compares the responses, highlights contradictions and discrepancies. So it's actually live now. It's on my little startup weekend project from a few years ago.
Cool.
Found a sundowner who likes not getting up in the morning and instead going to a pub after work and talking about startup stuff. If that's you, come to Founder Sundown. It's the first Wednesday of every month and it's at the other side of nowhere in West Leederville.
We're going to run through these because we want to leave more time for AI, but we couldn't do this. We are live streaming it to, actually it's international. We get a few, when Jürgen gave us the stats, there was people abroad are watching this as well, but thanks to the Department of Jobs, Tourism, Industry and Innovation, who are sponsoring to stream this to the regions throughout WA. And also, if you haven't checked out some of their initiatives from Innovator of the Year all the way through to WA Deal Room, please go ahead and do it. If you've got a startup, you actually might be surprised, you're probably on there somewhere or another.
Get on. Yes. So with live streaming, obviously Jitsi are paying for that. And they're paying these fine folks with the video camera equipment up there. If you need any live streaming, hit up perthvideo.com.au. If you want to watch this live stream, head to Morning Startup Perth with hyphens.
It's also worth noting that in that QR code there is everything, because everything's streamed, we record it, all the previous sessions are back there, so there's some really good videos from some really great presentations, like the next one we've got Derek and Lockie from Purpose, but Derek gave a really good presentation from Purpose Ventures on how to kind of raise capital. That was a few years ago, still gets very high viewage. Ammo. If you haven't checked out Ammo,
here in the,
do you want to give your own plug?
Love it.
Always be ready to pitch.
Yeah. So Ammo Marketing, or your startup marketing needs. yeah, we're a group, diverse group that we've built up over the last 10 years. We help startups grow. So if you need help with your marketing from anything in the marketing space, come talk to me. Thanks.
And more importantly, check out the Weird Growth podcasts. Really interesting. Some really great founders on there. One of the one that
the latest. You got new episodes coming out soon?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, look forward to it. Like I said, one of the one that really got me was the rubber ring guy. A few years ago, Casey
Holiday. Yeah, that was
Halo Rings. Yeah, it was really good.
$50 million
Yeah, from rubber wedding rings.
Really good lesson on like building your moat. Like anyone can
Yeah.
copy that, and yeah. Really
Beach
good.
and Grape, Glenn on the corner there. If you want a new job, if you are looking to recruit, Glenn has been an advocate of Morning Startup for a very long time. But go and check out beachandgroup.com.
Did you want to do your 30-second?
I'll do one in the context of AI. I'll shout.
No, we need it for the
live
mic.
stream.
We need it for these little things.
Glenn's tips.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do. All right, quick one. In fact, I think Sarah does it. You guys do a tech test and assessments for your guys? Okay. So do quick diagnostic. Can't recommend Isotana. I talk to clients, particularly when you're hiring tech people, particularly in the world of AI. Please have a clear process for your hiring, and I strongly recommend for your technical people, have an assessment that you run through and get them to do it, take away, and then when you do your interview, talk through that. It's a much better interactive way of running a thorough process, and most importantly, the people that do it will be the ones that you'll want to hire, because people like the ones that you want like being tested and assessed. Do that.
Thank you. Brilliant.
100%.
We have, who's got a coffee here, first of all? Perfect. I'll come back to that in a second. There is also food at the end of the aisle here, which is courtesy of Keepsafe. If anybody here in e-commerce, it would surprise me not more people are in e-commerce.
We got one.
One.
Do you know
Yes.
3PL? What that means? There you go. These guys
So
can
if
help
you
you with
want,
that.
if you've got 3PL, check out Keepspace. Depots here in Perth and in Melbourne. Hi to Jesse if you're watching online, but thank you very much, Keepsafe, for the food. Help yourself. Then at the end of it, who's looking to raise money? Go and check out Purpose. Purpose kindly sponsoring the coffee from Joe Zaz's. If you haven't got your coffee, go and grab one down there. But check out purpose.ventures. They'll be here in a couple of weeks.
Yes. I think we've got a slide coming up, but they'll be doing an info session on
Cool.
how to pitch to VCs.
I'm going to let you look at this. If you're looking for co-working space, check out Space Cube, Riff, Flux, Fern, all the others. There you go.
Cool. Okay, so this is put together by the guys at Mesh Points. So you can scan that QR code and ask it questions. There's a little Copilot chatbotty thing, and it will direct you to the right program. Hey, Andy's here. How you doing? Woo. It's all right. We haven't got the panel going. If you're wondering why the fourth panel
We
is
were stalling.
bloody weather, bloody trains. Good to meet you, by the way. How's things? No, we'll get on with it.
Have a seat here, Andy, in the middle. Most important spot.
Yeah, that's right. What was I say? So, scan it. It'll direct you to the right place in WA startup land. If you're an ag tech, it'll take you to the right accelerators and things, and to give you advice on how you can get going in WA.
Cool. And most importantly, go and, if you want to talk to us, and we won't actually say questions today, go and join the Slack group now, because we're going to be taking questions via the Slack group. I've also posted some videos on the Slack group for you to go and watch, which we're going to talk about today. So you can go and watch that later on. So go and scan that QR code now. And if you want to talk to us, or you want to do an interesting presentation, and you want to share with the group, let us know. We're always looking. We're pretty booked up now, aren't we, till...
Yeah, I think we're up till November.
Yeah. And then we'll be
I just booked one in for March next year, which is crazy. So
Crazy.
But yeah,
Cool. You got it?
hit us up.
Grab it.
Yes, so that QR code takes you to the invite link. You can't just go to Slack. Oh no, you can go to slack.morningstartup.com. It should take you there.
Okay.
Cool.
Right.
I
All
think I've
good.
fixed that problem.
Right. And in 2 weeks' time, this is your organisation.
What?
You organised
This is my
it. Who organised
Oh
it?
yeah, I did, I guess. Sorry, I just like Purpose Venture. That's Dave's game. You know, they gave you money and stuff.
Who needs more coffee?
So yes, as we said before, they're doing a info session. But yeah, more around like what do you need to know as a founder if you're pitching to VCs? How are you going to get them to say yes? So yeah, we're going to have Lockie and Derek in 2 weeks' time. So come along to that.
Cool. So,
That is formalities out of the way.
We've been doing this for years. I think we need a new one. So,
It's formalities, people.
anyway, we are going to get straight into it for the main event. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome to the stage, they're already here, Lee. Woo! We actually should have done it in order of who you are on the screen, actually. Do we want to just do a quick reshuffle so we know who's who? We didn't really think this through.
You probably work it out with the profile.
Yeah, we
pics.
definitely could have worked Nina out. And yeah. So, but yeah, we kind of took, this was an impromptu presentation from 2 weeks ago where a lot of people going, look, there's a lot of questions out there about AI. We don't really know how do we get involved with it. What does it mean? How do I, as a founder, kind of get involved? And so we thought, you know what, let's just get a crowd together. Let's get a panel session and let's just ask the question. A few people are doing a lot of it. And then there's others who are like, I just don't know how this is going to affect me. I don't know how it's going to affect my startup. So let's just put something together, get a panel together. So I want to introduce Brian. Lee, who's putting this go on, Nina and Andy. Maybe if you can just, we'll quickly go through and you could just introduce yourself and tell us your quick involvement in AI.
Hey, how's it going? Brian. So yeah, I'm probably like a grown-up kid who's evolved from Lego to tech. Yeah, I've started off since GPT-3. First app was Bedtime Story AI, which is really popular. We made it for our kids. And sort of evolved from there into how do I turn this into something reliable that I can scale out. So yeah, I do some consulting for like ASX companies. So I've been trying to understand how do I go from standard software to Gen AI software and make it reliable while having fun.
Thank you.
Morning, folks. I'm Lee. I've been in tech for around 20 years. Few CTO and CPO roles at VC-backed startups and scale-ups, and more recently I've worked with, the last 2 years maybe, 20 or so early-stage technology, generally software product companies, of which about 2/3 are AI-based, and more specifically natural language processing or large language model-based. That'll be it. Cool.
Good morning, my name is Nina. So I use a lot of AI in my fashion startup, like a lot of it, and it's all about empowering people to actually get their vision out there, which is really cool. But also in my gig that funds my startup, I also use AI a lot, and we are trying to find all the ways that we can integrate AI into our systems so we can actually, again, empower people and optimize everything.
So Andy Spaver. I'm an agile coach and business transformation sort of lead by profession, but I'm realizing that the next decade is going to completely change the paradigm of software engineering, software delivery. My learning style is really hands-on. I was a former software engineer, so I'm just really diving in, sort of seeing how do I use this stuff? How does it impact me? Because that's then going to influence how I coach organizations in the next decade. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And my name's Dave, you know me, I'm one of the organisers, but the reason I'm here is actually my company won one of Australia's most innovative healthcare companies, and that was because of the work that we did in AI to kind of look at trends and actions within shift notes of patients. So I thought I would just quickly start with some interesting stats just to set the page. Then what we're going to do is go in and ask some questions. So I think this first stat is a little low. I think it's a lot higher, but apparently according to Statistica, the AI industry will be worth over 1 trillion. I'm not sure how they're counting that, because if you look at the likes of NVIDIA, it's a lot higher than that already. Interesting stats from now. 2/3 of the world is already using AI regularly. 78% of organizations are already using AI in some form. I personally thought that would be quite high from what I can see. This one doesn't surprise me at all. I actually think it's quite low. 92% of all students are using generative AI. 51% of marketers are already using generative AI. And this was a super interesting statistic, is that AI will consume this year the same amount of electricity that the UK as a country will consume. Pretty staggering. And I think that's one of we discussed 2 weeks ago, the topic that actually one of the limitations for AI is actually not going to be the thing, it's actually going to be the power to deliver to it. When we look at it a bit further then, when we look at it from a social lens, which is even more interesting, 46% of us trust AI apparently at the moment, and this is from Forbes in a report that they did. But according to Anthropic CEO, 50% of all white-collar workers will lose their jobs in the next 5 years. Now, obviously, he's got a dog in the game because he's AI and Anthropic has Claude. However, to look at the other side of the lens, and we're looking at it from Fiverr, I wanted to find another view. Fiverr's, if you know who they are, they're basically gig economy workers, very much like Upwork. His CEO has basically put, you must understand that what was once considered easy tasks will no longer exist. What was considered hard task will be the new easy, and what was considered impossible task will be the new hard. If you do not become an exceptional talent at what you do, in such a master of it, you'll face a career change within the next few months. And I think that's also one thing that I'm learning as a CEO, and especially within my teams, is that we're giving our developers time to go and develop their skills, because I don't think a lot of people realize how fundamentally world-changing this new technology is. And as such, I've just put here on the bottom here, go on to the Slack group. I have posted a video about, who's here heard about AI 2027? Any hands up? Yeah. Essentially, for those who haven't heard, AI 2027 is a report done by like the godfathers of AI. Is essentially as to the two possible outcomes that have it. Do you believe in Star Trek, or do you believe in Terminator? All right, and I'm as an advocate of AI, I've always been a believer of Star Trek. However, this was the first video that I kind of watched and went, like, there's some really uncomfortable truths in it. So I definitely recommend get on the Slack channel and go and watch that. However, let's just get a show of hands here. Who here is at a startup that's at AI idea stage? Hands up. Cool. Who's in the room at startup stage? Okay. Scale up. And who's a consultant? I won't lie. I joke. I love you guys to bits, but I kid you not, every other phone call seems to be coming through from a consultant trying to sell me AI consultancy at the moment. So to the panel, we'll start with Brian. We'll go across. How can I use AI basically as a founder? So if I'm starting an idea and I want to use it, what's the best message? In fact, no, we'll start with you, Andy. You've got the mic. What's the best way in using AI as a founder now?
So I guess it would be just, look, don't be afraid of it. It can be a great tool to validate your thinking. So post your idea into the model and ask it to critique it, and then maybe take what it's put and your original and put that into another model. So say, this is what I fed to a model. This is what it told me. What do you think? And use it to sort of play two models off against each other almost. It's a great way to sort of, really cut through the noise and come up with some really concrete ideas. So, yeah.
Then do deep research on GPT or Gemini. You really have to do deep research to sort of see where the market is. Like, that's really amazing. We had to do a lot of research on our own to find out who has the same idea, who are the competitors, and now you can literally ask it and it will give you the analysis. And once you have that, then you really have to be critical. And like, we could use maybe Scott's Mortal Kombat, and then check to see if the idea is still good, and then you move on. And I think that would be probably visualizing it and seeing it in real life, but only if that's what's important to you.
I'll probably come at this from two angles. The first one will be product, and the second will be productivity for you as founders, given that more than half of us in the room put their hand up as founder. So from a product perspective, when you're building a prototype, and that's something that you might have previously done with Figma by hiring a user experience designer to be able to get feedback without having to spend the coin to build a full MVP. Magic. Go to Vercel's V0 or Replit or Lovable or any of these vibe coding tools. They are magic for saving you the first 2/3 of the journey before you engage a user experience designer for some rapid prototyping. You can do that for $44 a month. Magic. Cool. When we get to MVP, Some of your products are suitable for you to launch an MVP with, which is the thinnest possible slice for you to charge somebody $1 ethically. These are the use cases where you should not build an MVP using vibe coding tools. Do you have health data? Do you have financial data? Is it defense or government? Do you have children or minors data? If it's any of these, stop a prototype, hire a software engineer. We're not quite there yet. 6 months we might be. We might be by the end of this talk. It's changing pretty quickly, but we are not right now. Cool, that's product. Now onto productivity. All your meetings, have AI note takers, have the full transcripts, connect N8N or Zapier or Make and use that to pull your transcripts into your SharePoint or your Google Drive. If you use Google Workspace, which is better than the Office ecosystem, you should use Google Workspace. Then you can use Notebook LM, and you can then have your own personalized model for everything that you do on every word that you've spoken and every document you've created. It's magic. You should try Notebook LM by Google if you haven't already.
Before you jump into Brian, do you want to just explain who here has heard the term vibe coding? A few of them. Yeah, just to maybe explain for those who don't understand what vibe coding is.
I guess it's creating apps through English language instead of through coding. So Lovable has like a text entry. You go create me a bedtime story app, and it'll probably create something pretty decent. So yeah, it's interacting with technology via English language to create an app, which is pretty good.
E.g., put menu at the top of and you type it in, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and you can hook up Figma and stuff, so you can get some sort of rigidity in it, so it's pretty good. Yeah, as a founder, so is this like an existing founder adding AI in, or new founder? I'd say if you're an existing founder, just make sure it's something you want to solve, because it's kind of, yeah, it's the first one I came across technology-wise where you can do something really quickly, but then it's really hard. So like the API is there, you can get something up and running in a day, but then actually doing it reliably is extremely hard. And unlike classic software, it's never fully solved. So you constantly need a human in the loop to verify. So imagine customer support. You build something as an existing founder to automate it. From there, you need an AI that's evaluating an AI's output, but then you also need a human to confirm that what's happening is good. So yeah, it's easy to get started, but very hard to keep it running, and it's constantly costing you money. So it's very different than classic software like that. So first thing I would say is make sure it's worthwhile to you, because you're going to be spending a lot of time on it. If you're a new founder, you want to create a new AI product, like an example would be for a bedtime story, I wanted consistent character imagery. So I just go into the OpenAI playground and play around. Like I put in a prompt and I put in, see what it looks like, and then I pull that out into code, and then I want to think more like test-driven development. How do I do this reliably? So I know how to do it. I've gone through my creative stage, and then pulling it into code. And like vibe coding, you can ask ChatGPT to take my prompt and now put it into TypeScript code, and then try and understand how that's going to work for 1,000 people. So you've done it once, now generate it 1,000 times and verify it looks good, and then use a vibe coding tool to scale it out from there.
So a question I had, just to maybe take a step back, was around, and none of you wanted to answer this question, which is, what is AI? Where do you start?
You've got the mic.
Yeah, that's a hard one, man. I guess generative AI is, technically, it's like an unsupervised algorithm, so it's consumed the entire internet, and it's now able to imitate human content or create new content based on a provided prompt.
We all going to have a go at this?
I think we should actually.
I reckon we'll get 4 different answers, or 5 even. I'm looking forward to it. Cool. I'm going to narrow it down to machine learning is what the nerds call it, but AI is what the marketers call it. And we'll narrow it down to the part that we're only really hearing about at the moment, which is natural language processing or large language models. The text stuff that's now gradually moving into the speech stuff. The best way to think about natural language processing is there's no I in artificial intelligence. There's no actual intelligence there. It doesn't understand method or reason. So think about it rather like a robot with 1,000,000 left arms, 1,000,000 right arms. The left arms have scissors. The right arms have glue. And it has a printout of every word on the internet in front of it. That's what a large language model is. It can't create anything new and it can't reason, but it can do an amazing job cutting and pasting stuff in a fascinating order for you.
I'm going to see if we get some disagreement here. This is interesting. Go on.
That was beautifully said. Like, what? I actually asked GPT earlier. I was like, what is AI? Because I saw that that's going to be a question. I was like, what? And it said basically it is like all the things that humans need intelligence for, AI doesn't need that. And it just does the work easily without any issues. Again, I paraphrased it. It said it much more beautifully. But to me, it really does is that. Like, imagine having all the data that we have online, which we do, and all the different experiences, and now it's like there at the tip of your fingers, and it can do magic for you. I mean, I don't know if it's magic. It's not magic. It's actually just data that we have access to, which is amazing.
So I would say it's a random number generator. I'm looking at this from a pure maths perspective, but the way natural language models work is they've been fed a corpus of sort of human knowledge. They basically generate what is the probability of the next letter based on what I've seen before. So that's essentially how they work. So it is random. Now, if you've used any of these sort of chat interfaces, you might have seen some of the parameters down the side that you're totally confused about. Temperature is probably the key one. Set that to 0, you get that sort of very deterministic of when I've run my training, this is the letter I've always had. If you go to the extreme, it generates more sort of randomness into this. So you can use that to get more precise or more creative type answers. But yeah, look, I guess from a build perspective, that's all it really is. But it's really important, I think, to understand how those natural language models work, because that will then improve how you will use them as a tool. So, yeah. I guess just on the vibe coding one as well, I'd like, because that's an area I'm doing a lot of my sort of research in, and I think we're breaking into two streams here. You've got what is, the traditional sort of vibe coding where you just talk to the model and, build this for me. And now do this, and now do that. And it's great for getting those rapid prototypes, but as we've already touched on, right, that creates security issues, scalability issues. I'm trying to look at this from a different perspective and treat the AI almost like a human team. And we wouldn't say to a human team, we wouldn't drip feed them ideas like that. So why do we think AI model is going to produce the right output when we do the same thing? So I'm focusing more on creating really robust plans, really robust prompts that we can give to the AI so it will be more deterministic than its traditional sort of random approach. So I'm focusing a lot on that. That's the area I think it's really going to grow. Vibe coding is going to die away as a real pathway beyond anything other than that rapid prototyping, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think as a business we play with new rapid prototyping. I think as a designer in my craft in UX and UI, I think the one thing that I've noticed is that I haven't used Figma for a while, except for existing projects. What I have potentially done is taken a design, and you can go almost on a napkin, upload that into as a picture and say, I kind of want this kind of construct. And then the vibe coding tool like Lovable or whatever will then go and create you a very fast UI to kind of explain what you want, and then you could potentially take that UI and then give it to your real developers to take it to the next stage. One thing I did have then question around what is AI is just one of the questions I always pose with myself, which is how does it sometimes come across so human? Because we were literally just joking before we started about a joke, and we said, give us a joke that's about AI. And the first joke it came back with was, why did the AI break up with its robot girlfriend? Because it lost interest. She just didn't spark joy in its neural network. And then I was like, that's a bit sad. And then it asked me a question. It said, do you want me to go darker? Okay. And I was like, okay, let's go darker. And it said, I asked my AI to write a horror story. It just showed me my search history and smiled. Yeah, it's a little worrying when it's doing stuff like that. But so the next question I have now, which is probably the really interesting one, which is, and the context to this is that with the excitement of AI, we've seen, billions and billions of dollars pumped into new fresh startups, and then literally weeks later Google's gone and released a new product and effectively wiped out a whole genre of products. So as a founder who is seeing this era, and again I've said this before, in one of the scenarios of AI, just to give you context, who here, hands up, you can keep your hands down if you're embarrassed, who here remembers Y2K? Yeah, good. So, and who remembers 14.4 dial-up? I do. Right, to give you context, I saw a thing where they said, to give you context as to where we are in the AI journey, we're in 1996, right? So that tells you kind of where we're at in the journey. We've got .com to come, all of that, Web 2.0. So as a founder and looking and knowing that I have to, if I want to exist, adopt AI in some shape or form, where are the niches, and how can I exist? What are the new verticals that will come about? Who wants to? You take that one first, Andy.
That's a really interesting one, I guess. Obviously, not being in that startup space, I probably don't think like an entrepreneur, so it's probably going to be a bit of a difficult one for me to sort of think about here. But I guess if I look at this more from a consumer perspective than a producer perspective, I know organisations like Google and in the IT space, they can come along, they can sweep up anything. I don't like that. I like dealing with organisations that feel more human, feel that I can trust them more, feel that they've got the right ethics. So I think it would be if your startup is in a domain that runs the risk of being consumed by something else, think about how you really connect with your people, really sort of emphasize that side of it, keep the humanistic side, make sure you've got really good support, that you're not leaving people hanging, because people will gravitate to that. There'll always be a niche of people who want to work with ethical, customer-focused organizations. And I guess the other one is then, I think this is where AI can really be an advantage, though. So if you're going down a particular pathway and suddenly you realize that, one of a big tech startup is looking at a similar sort of thing, you've got AI at your disposal. How can you pivot? How can you potentially take what you've already got, move it away from the direction it's going that's going to be, bought up, and think about how do we shift? So use your AI to help you plot those pathways, maybe early on. So this is my idea. Ask AI to say, what's the risks of this? What might it look like in 10 years when the predators are looming to buy me out? What other pathways could I pivot to pretty quickly? You might be surprised at some of the fantastic quality answers you get out there.
I'm just going to add to that question, though, is, what are the new classes of products that will exist? And if you do have an existing product, like AI sounds like it's removed all moats, e.g. all protection. So, how can you defend against that as well? So,
yeah. I think just products, health is probably a huge space that needs, and government and stuff, they need a lot of innovation, and I think AI can help a lot with that. I'll say again, health. We need a lot of, especially in women's health, we need a lot of inventions very quickly. So that's a space that really needs AI. I almost feel like those are the products, that's where we need AI. But then for anybody else who is not health or stuff like that are high customization is really, really, it was always really important. But now we have the opportunity to customize. We all have our own little passions and niches and problems. And now the playfield is leveled. That's amazing. And also really scary, because how do you make it defensible? But it does mean that we have everything at our disposal to build really, really important products that will change actual lives. Like the way I use it in my startup is I get to empower people from different places with AI. I wouldn't be able to do that. Or when I was in Bosnia, the education that I had, it was not up to par to the world. But with AI, it is. And I think that's those are the opportunities, and we can use those opportunities to build amazing products.
On leveling the playing field, I think we're generating more code now faster than ever before. And I think one of my favorite expansions of Vibe from Vibe coding is treating it tongue-in-cheek as an acronym for vulnerabilities in beta edition. And what I think I'm pointing at here is less about the security and more about the barriers to entry are dramatically lowered. I think we're going to see a lot more entrepreneurial activity from a lot more people. Instead of there being 20 people competing for a slice of the market, there'll be 2,220 people internationally competing for that slice of the market. So for innovation and creating new things with AI, rather than thinking about using AI to build your product, what products can now only exist because of, and we're using AI as a shorthand for generative AI or large language models here, what things could only exist now that couldn't exist before, and why are you uniquely positioned to identify that thing? So the investor community is talking about this with the name vertical AI, and this is where somebody with deep domain expertise in an industry or vertical says, based on what I do day in, day out, and have done for the last 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, don't look at how gray my hair is, what things can you do that nobody else in the industry is currently doing, but it's a problem that you see that generative AI inherently lends itself towards solving? So that's what vertical AI is. We solve a problem based on our depth of domain expertise that we didn't used to be able to solve 3 years ago practically or reasonably. Then there's the other class where you already have a product and you could solve that problem without having generative AI, but you think you could make it easier. And this is the sprinkling the AI or the LLM gold dust on top of your existing product. That conceive it more, there's a lot of opportunity there, but conceive it more for your existing product as a way of simplifying your user journeys or your user interfaces without throwing out the baby with the bathwater of the existing systems, logic, processes that you have built to solve a problem for a market that you might already be further down the path of validating. So vertical AI or some gold dust on your existing solution, both are entirely valid pathways to innovation.
Cool. Yeah, I think probably the main thing I think when creating is we're in the sort of distrust phase of AI. So we're like kind of, these things, I don't know if they're going to work. I would say if you're going to like found a product, be like really optimistic on it. So imagine that like investors aren't going to give you a couple of $1 million if you're half-assed on it either. Like be really optimistic on what AI can do. So imagine in like 5 years that you trust AI more than your doctor, you trust AI more than your teacher for your child. Someone who does this really well is Isatana. Like if you trust AI more than a standard security guard, like what does that future look like? So I think if you're going to build something, take that mindset into it. Don't be like half-assed thinking, maybe this will work. Be really optimistic. Like look at the trajectory. Think that way. And then I think it's just like something I created which didn't really work out was called Sprout Player. So my daughter has a Yoda player, which is like she puts in a card and it plays a story, an audio story. And at the end it had this interactive questions like during it, what did the dog do? And like Molly was waiting like 10 seconds and then it would say the answer. So I was like, I can do that with ChatGPT. I can create like an interactive audio story. And so we built that out, and you can build it with voice now. But at the time, it was every time Molly would respond, it was like 4 seconds before the AI would generate its response. So it wasn't ready then. But like coming back only a year later, it's probably actually like we need to revisit that product because it's advanced that much. So yeah, that's probably sort of, there's whole new classes everywhere if you keep your eyes open, but like being really optimistic and presuming like people will trust AI and it's going to solve the problems that are there.
So just quickly, one word or one industry, just coming back down to Andy here, which if you were to start a new product today, knowing with AI, which industry would you put it in? Just one industry. I want to go, automation, defense, healthcare.
Yeah, I think the most locked in one is probably like customer support to me, like if you were to guarantee something. But personally, I'd like the education is interesting because I have 2 young kids, so that's a really interesting space.
Lee?
definitely education for me, but that's because I have equity in edtech AI startups.
Health, probably health.
Health?
Oh, I think probably education.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to underpin everything over the next, sort of, the next generation, really. So yeah.
Okay. So if there's any professions in here, like in there looking to do it, and again, I joke about having phone calls from consultants. Actually, somebody phoned me this week. I don't know if they're in the room. If you're in the room, raise your hand. No? Okay, you didn't come. Because I said to him, funny enough, he said, can I help your business transform with AI? And I said, funny enough, I'm giving a talk this week or next week. Why don't you come along? But if you are, as a consultant or a professional in this area, what hacks, tips or tricks or cheat codes would you recommend to the audience today to kind of get them up to speed to learning, about AI, to start that journey, and to immerse themselves in it so they are like the domain experts?
Use the AI to help you to create your prompt to use the AI. Is probably the simplest one. So give it start your query off with, I need a prompt to, give it your challenge, give it some of the constraints maybe, and just let it fire away. And you'll get something that's pretty robust, and then just feed that back in. But again, a big one that I used pretty early on was this idea of sort of chain of thought type ideas as well. So take the output of one, feed it into another, and keep playing a couple of models off. So get the AI to write its own prompt, and then do prompt chaining to sort of keep chaining ideas back and forth between multiple AIs.
Yeah, that 100%, like you say, for everything. But what I thought as well, what really helped me is sort of listening to different podcasts on my way to work, like when I grab a coffee, whatever, and just like listening to podcasts and hearing all these words that at the beginning I didn't even know what they mean. But it's good to sort of get familiarized with them, and then you go and you ask all the AIs, and then you can even criticize AI, because I have noticed in recent days is when they're starting to be a little bit cheeky, and if they didn't release that model or whatever, they're going, I don't know about that. So you really, it's a good way of getting more resources. So what I did was I listen to this podcast every day anyway. It's called Everyday AI Podcast, and it's pretty much just like they share news about AI every day, because every day there is something new. And I'm telling you, like even now there are things that I just learned last week, and I'm like, I would love to talk about this. Then like practical AI is another one. So this one is a little bit more technical, but they bring on experts from different fields. So like I said, health, and for me it's fashion, but it doesn't matter. Like they have education, all kinds of experts, and then they talk about the innovation in AI and like what they did. And then I love YC podcasts as well, because it's really entrepreneurial, but they talk a lot about AI. And you can also really see what startups are doing in AI and what investors are interested with AI. So I think that's a good start as well.
Can you whack those on the Slack channel so that everyone can see them?
You have a researcher, they're fresh out of uni, they're in the domain or area of expertise that you work in, and at any time, you can ask them to spend 4 hours writing you 3 paragraphs, 2 pages, or you can ask them to spend a week writing 20 pages. It'll only really contain stuff that you mostly already know because they're fresh out of university, but it'll get you the first 80% of the way there, and then you'll be a fair bit faster because you have access to this researcher, but you're not hiring them. You now have them in a prompt interface. Think about anything that you would want somebody who's fresh out of uni in your domain or area of expertise to go and spend 4 hours on. And that's anything that you should be starting right now to write the first 80% of any material piece of work that you're doing with large language models.
I think for me with AI, I think what happened to me first was I got a bit scatterbrained, because you have this like AI and you can ask it anything and your thoughts start to wander. So I've actually I read the Da Vinci biography like a few months ago, and I was like, that guy could invent all this shit like without any technology. So I've kind of gone back to like writing on pen and paper like every morning, and then like I'll write down what I want to do for the day and like where my problems are, and then I'll just take a picture of that and put it into ChatGPT. And like ask it to like, I might have some problems in there. but like that's been really helpful for me with AI to like, I think clarity of thought is probably the main thing now. Like through all this technology, like your clarity of thought is the main thing you want to keep directionally. So that's probably write down in a notepad, take a picture, and then chat it through with AI. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so just before we go on to the next one, as a newbie to it, like what are the kind of, we all know what ChatGPT is, but what are the other sort of like models or languages that I should potentially be looking at? So maybe let's just go name one or two and then move down the panel.
Technologies, the ones I find most useful at the moment are Cloud Code and v0.dev. So Cloud Code for doing like sort of boring things I don't want to do. v0.dev because like I can spend 10 hours doing crappy UI and it can do one pretty well, pretty quickly. So.
I'll second both Claude Code and v0.dev, v0 being one of the vibe coding tools. The other two easy ones are Lovable or Replit. All of these have slightly different strengths and weaknesses, but go have a play with all of them, especially if you're prototyping products or prototyping new features inside an existing product. I talked about Notebook LM before. That is best conceived of as Google Drive or SharePoint, where all of the documents in that folder, when you ask the LLM a question, it gives you an answer in the context of all of the documents plus that usual foundation model. Absolutely go experiment with that. It's super powerful for your workflow. And if you're not using AI note takers for full text transcripts in your meetings, just go pick up Otter or Fathom or turn on the Google Meet note taker or the Teams note taker. This is really important. This is right in front of you. It's in your existing tools and it's really easy. Get stuck into those.
Cool. It's really good for code. It's really consistent, which is really, really good. I don't hate Gemini for like giving me ideas about UI. I used also Veo recently, like for videos. That's really fun. It's going to develop really quickly, but it's really interesting to look at like how could I use all of these tools that I have to create something completely new and different. I can't remember. There's another one that I was like, oh, yes, that one. Oh, yes, MCP, Model Context Protocol. Okay, so if you are in the business of working a little bit more with AI, if you want to build a chatbot that's actually really powered by your own APIs, MCP is the place to go. Also, like go Google like open source MCPs, which is sort of like giving you, MCPs are giving you just the option of integrating different APIs and different elements into your own AI, like let's say chatbot. That it's really, really useful. And you could like build a business out of a few MCPs. I'm just saying.
Claude Code, definitely. Yeah, look, recently discovered that, and yeah, what Claude Code produces is pretty incredible. Google Gemini, we've sort of touched on, but the whole sort of Google AI suite, you've got image generation, you've got video generation, you've got, the Gemini model itself with a 1 million parameter, a 1 million character context window. So again, I won't get into the detail of context, but big is good, small is bad, right? So you want big. But then the other one I use quite a bit is OpenRouter. So it's essentially a gateway to other models. So you send your request to OpenRouter and it will then send it to different models. But they have a whole bunch of free models on there as well. So it's a great way to use, if you're just dabbling about with some coding, you don't want to pay for an expensive model, just use some of the OpenRouter ones. They've got DeepSeek V3 in there, DeepSeek R1. They've got the Llama Maverick and Scout, which are sort of two of the recent ones. So yeah, that's probably what I would say. But be really wary of a lot of these. If you're not keeping an eye on your cost and you're using a paid one, these costs can rack up pretty quickly. I remember a weekend session where I was just hacking away and I got my API key configured wrong. I thought I was using a free service. $80, $90 later, I get an alert from Google saying, hey, look, you've got over your threshold. So yeah, just be wary of that.
Yeah, I would. If you're looking for models, I think the one thing that, as a company that's going into it, and how are we applying the models to it. I think if you're starting your journey and you want to really immerse yourself, I would definitely check out Hugging Face. It's a website where you've got all the different models there, everything from Mistral, Grok. So if you've who's heard of Grok? So Grok is the X, basically kind of the AI. You've obviously talked about ChatGPT with their 4.0 and 04, and I would love to be on their naming convention board for that one. You've got everything to Llama, which is obviously and stuff that Meta is doing, and then you've obviously got now stuff if you're on AWS and you're looking at that, you're looking at the Bedrock for AWS. So there's 100 different kind of models out there, everything from DeepSeek, which is the Chinese version that did it, and even to the point where you've got Alibaba has their own model. Yes. Do you want to, Mike?
Sorry, there's Grok with a K, which is Elon Musk's one, which defers to him on everything. There's Grok with a Q as well, which is they've developed their own chips. It was the guy who developed the Google Tensor chip. So they have their own processor, so it runs really fast. So for a few things, I'll use Grok because it's the fastest one, GROQ. So in my products, it's in every product for the one where the speed of response is the most important.
So one last question, because we have a few extra minutes. I'm just going to throw this last question in. One of the questions that, just from my view on if you want to go learn this, I'm more of an Instagram person, is, I mentioned in the last one, is ed.honor. Really good. He's like an older guy. He's a CEO of a listed company over in the States doing a lot of deep learning in medical, but he's very good at putting out little bits of content, real reels on what to learn, and he also has this AI community which you can join, which is completely for free. So go on ed.honor into Instagram and he'll come up. And the other one would be evolving.ai is another great account that gives lots of bits. So the one question I have as a founder now, starting it, and given the change that's happening, and the question that keeps me up at night, and I'm sure it probably keeps Kevin and the other guys up and girls up, is the architecture of AI. Because we're hearing, obviously, now it's about, we all know about ChatGPT, Claude, we can connect our APIs out into those systems, and we're going to go and consume, thousands of tokens, et cetera, But now we're sort of talking about more how the architecture is changing around. You talked about NCP, and that we've got specific agents that do specific jobs. Those specific agents then potentially would talk to other agents and go, well, that's not my job, that's your job. And then we're now hearing about, do you then spawn up a job where you've got agents who will go off and you'll give the job, like you were saying, to two different agents to give you a prompt. You're going to give them the same job, and they're going to come up and see how they both come, and you reward those agents based on their output or their thing. But then there's do they work together in symbiotic manner, or do they work in competition? So as a founder who's now kind of going that further into AI, would there be any recommendation around how you architect maybe we start with Brian, who's got the mic. How would you, as a founder going into it, what would be the architecture that you would set up? As I say, one of the models, just quickly, is that we're talking about not using cloud. We're having almost like an on-prem version for on-premise. So you have your own model sat within your own servers that then may call some of the cloud-based models. So, bit of a deep question, but
yeah, it threw me in there. Yeah, I guess I'd still come back to the classic software. You've got DevOps, so you make a change and then you want to deploy it every day. So you're constantly making changes and pushing it. So the reason you can do that is that you've got tests to verify that it works. So you don't have to have someone click on it. So with AI, it's kind of the same thing, except you're never going to get 100 out of 100. So you want to benchmark it. So when the customer asks for this, then 99 times out of 100 they get the right response. So just being able to programmatically verify everything. Because remember OpenAI had that issue where it started being real deferential to everyone and telling them they were amazing. So they changed one line of prompt. But so you also need to validate the output in, did it answer the question, but also did it answer it in a way, the tone. So it comes back to that sort of DevOps, how do I programmatically verify my system? Then you can, and keep it as simple as possible. I know you talked about different things, but how do you validate those when you're releasing changes? Yeah.
I think I'll riff on that thread a little bit. For a little bit of assurance or quality control when building natural language processing products, You don't need to build all of this from the ground up, and you definitely, given there's not a lot of software engineers in the audience, but a lot of founders, and you definitely shouldn't let your software engineers build what I'm about to describe from the ground up. The test automation tools are evolving over the last 18 months or so for generative AI-based products. Go grab off-the-shelf ones like Human Loop or Vellum. These already exist. They have a lot of capital backing them. They're growing fast. The feature depth is growing. The help articles and knowledge bases, even if you don't license the products, will inspire you with new and creative ways to create quality control and assurance in your generative AI products. Absolutely go read the knowledge base articles and the think pieces from Human Loop and Vellum. You'll get a lot of value out of it. I'll also step directly out of the product here for the second part to this question and think a little bit more about the toolchain or the DevOps part. Your product engineering team will get a lot of value out of having natural language processing at varying steps in their software development lifecycle. So, for the developer that never writes comments on their code before they submit their PR reviews, then have a step in your toolchain that suggests comments for the code that they've written. For the developer that does really skinny code reviews on their other colleagues' work, then have it suggest 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses of the pull request that has come through from another developer. Have it automatically suggest unit test creation for the new code that has been written that has just passed through. There's lots of stages in your software development lifecycle that your engineering team can get some of that semi-mythical velocity gain at the moment. We're not getting 80% performance gains for most engineers. We're getting at the moment in the real world for brownfields applications that already exist, somewhere between 20 and 40%, depending upon the product and the ecosystem. I'd be interested in other people's opinions on that there. But think about it not only in your product, but also in your product engineering tool chain. There's a lot of value to be had there.
Yes, all that. What I thought was like, so there was a lot of talk about like how software engineers are going to be made all redundant. But what it actually is, it's all about like now all the mundane work is done. So that means like you really have to look at the architecture of it all, the fundamentals. And what I would suggest is like, as you said, like look at DevOps, look at testing, and like plan it all before even stepping, and then like get the resources, look at online and see like what are the mistakes that have been done before, and then start working on it. I think it's more now to look at the big picture before stepping it in.
So I think one of the really important things, and I touched on this a second ago, is we need to be really cognizant of cost. 6-8 months ago, the cost of AI seemed to be coming down. And I was, hey, this is great. And it was being driven, I think, a lot by the open source community, producing some, really, really good models. We've seen a sudden uptick. I think a lot of that was, again, YC-backed organizations, happy to lose money to get customer share, was bringing the price down. Now they've got their audience. We're seeing the prices ramp up. Apps like Cursor, they're putting really restrictive usage things on. So be really cognizant of cost. Have a look at getting some kind of local setup. Get a reasonably powerful PC, stick a couple of GPUs in it, stick Ollama, which is a tool for serving large language models that you can run locally. And get something on there, get a reasonably powerful model on there. You'll be able to use that completely detached from the internet to answer a lot of your sort of general day-to-day questions. So that would be one that reduces that cost to zero. Another one is a lot of people just, hey, look, they look at the latest state-of-the-art model, GPT or 3 or whatever it is, or Gemini 2.5 Pro, and they send everything to that same model. And it's overkill. You wouldn't go to a PhD graduate and give him your mundane stuff. So again, pick the right tool for the right task you're trying to do. And we touched on it earlier about benchmarking. And again, with vibe coding tools, build your own benchmark. Get it to, list a dozen different LLMs that are out there. Type in the type of question that is relevant to your domain and fire those at each of those models and see what comes back with a sensible answer. And then you can pick the right tool. So don't always go for the biggest state-of-the-art model. Your local on-premise Olama might serve you well. A lowly, relatively small model on the internet might serve you well. So, and this is something I'm looking at with a lot of the work I'm doing. So within the agentic coding domain, I like to use that phrase as opposed to vibe coding to differentiate it. So really sort of more structure is I'm creating prompts that carry out different roles. So I have an architect role, I have a coder role, I have a tester role. It then means I can give it a more succinct prompt that is relevant to that role. So I guess one parting thing then is, as users of LLMs moving forward, understand the difference between a system prompt and a user prompt. So the user prompt is what generally you type into the interface, and it will give you an answer. The system prompt on models that are out on the internet is generally set in the background, and it controls how it operates. Now, if you understand them and you're running your own models, that's where you can then focus it onto a specific role. So for startups, you might have a marketing agent, you might have a sales agent, you might have a customer service agent. You can give it a prompt that is specific to that particular role. I think the industry is going to shift over the next decade. Instead of getting more and more of these massive, super intelligent models, I think we're going to get models that are smaller, they're faster, they're going to be more concise, but they're trained on one or two specific domains. We've already seen at the beginning of the thing about the power consumption. If we leave this unchecked, we're not going to be able to create enough power to actually run all these data centers. So I think we're going to see a shift towards smaller models that are trained on a specific use case. So again, you can get ahead of the curve by thinking about a system prompt for that use case.
Perfect. We've gone a little bit over time, but hopefully you found it useful. We've got time for just maybe a few questions. Are there any questions in the room that anyone wants to answer? Yes, I thought there would be. So let's have a round of applause first of all.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So as a non-tech person, I use Otter for Zoom meetings. You mentioned Otter. Okay, and I was going to start taking notes here, but then I thought, well, if this is being recorded, what does Otter do that, or what program would be recording this, summarising it, and then sending it to me?
Feed the YouTube video that comes out of this afterwards into your foundation model of choice. All of them will happily consume that URL, pull the transcript off the YouTube video, and then give you the summary that you're looking for. Or you can use the Otter mobile native application that'll do that. It's a bit better than Fathom for the fact that it has a record button on a mobile app.
Hi, this is Ram. This is not the question for you guys, but I just wanted to share it to everybody. That was missing in our last 1 hour. This is something about everybody need to have their own AA agents, and everybody need to create their own AA agents. And if you don't know how to create their own AA agents, I think it's also you need to aware of having a prompt engineering. You don't need to learn about prompt engineering, but you can use other AI tools to do the prompt engineering for other AI tools and create own AI agent. And I think in few weeks and few years time, everybody need to be like AI journalist. This is open statement for everyone. It's not a question.
No worries. Who's got a question?
What are your thoughts on privacy, just for the panel in general, around AI?
Does anyone want to go?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big concern, and I mean, a lot of what I'm doing is it's not sort of necessarily business focused. It's not for a client, so I'm less concerned. I'm using DeepSeek, run off their servers in China. I'm just hacking about, trying ideas, so I'm not too fussed about that. But yeah, look, absolutely, if you're using customer data, if you're using financial data, then be really sort of cognizant of what you can do without. But I think that's probably no different to existing limitations that we've got around data residency with things like cloud services. So I think, whatever diligence you apply to your data for, general cloud services, apply that to AI as well. I think this idea of leaked secrets is probably overstated. I mean, if we think about the fact that, they are just random number generators, and you've leaked one of your secrets out there and it's been, being used as a piece of training data, what's the probability that an LM model is going to pick up the exact sequence of characters that is just one in your leaked data? So look, I think the idea of, hey, give me somebody's PIN number. Yeah, okay, I don't think that's going to work, but hey, look, I'm not
I
a
would
security
just say
person.
on that, just because we're cognizant of that, anything I would just say is be careful with LLMs. It ends up who saw the McDonald's story. Yeah, McDonald's basically had a recruitment site. They had an AI bot that basically leaked everybody's resumes, personal details, all of that stuff, because somebody was able to go onto that website and talk to this bot, and it basically related because they hadn't put any security protocols in place. So just be cognizant of that. Question from the Slack channel, thank you, which is, if you are a student and you're looking to sort of learn, are there any tools that are specific to sort of the education area?
You're the man for this.
Hopefully I've said that question correctly.
I don't know. I think if you're a student, just build something, I would say is the main thing. It's easy to get caught up in all, like you could learn AI for 10 years and then it's all gone by and you haven't done anything. So I'd say if you're a student, just get out there and build stuff. Your mind is probably a bit fresher than all us other people, so you'll see the world differently. So yeah, use these tools to build something and then take that with you and use AI where you don't understand things to learn them. That would be my recommendation.
Question just here.
Sorry, I mean, we touched on LM Studio, which is a really good tool, but LM Studio is essentially a concept called RAG, so retrieval augmented generation, and that's where you use a corpus of knowledge that is relevant to you to inform an LLM. So if you're a student and you've got lots of data around your particular courses, put that into a RAG tool like LM Studio or something else.
So quick question, thanks, great panel. How do you use AI in heavily secured IT and cyber secure corporate world? So that's the big challenge at the moment.
I'd probably say on-prem. Run your own model.
Without IT actually building it for you.
Right, so there's some very real risk and some very real opportunity. The risk is overstated to the extent that we already put all of our organizational documents in SharePoint, and when we're uploading them to Copilot, which is available with SharePoint in most enterprise, kind of taking on that same level of risk commercially and legally. So some of it is a bit overstated. Next up, when you're building generative AI-based products that allow external users or even internal users to a lesser degree to interact with them in a text-based manner, there's a whole emerging field of security that wraps around how do you stop prompt injection where the end user takes over the application and suggests that it then does things on the back end. Yes. And so that's on the user side. And now let's talk about on your internal procurement processes and security and privacy side. If you have a look at using the models that are hosted by your existing cloud service providers like Amazon or Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure, then you'll be able to find that they host a lot of these commercial models, and you can host it in a region or in your account and get the kind of privacy that they're used to for running their own compute, their own databases, their own storage in their account. So rather than looking to use OpenAI's APIs when building a product, have a look at using the OpenAI model within your Microsoft Azure account in your cloud services provider, and you can deal with data residency and privacy and a lot of those other good things.
Question here, last question.
Okay, thank you. I'm Alex. I'm in the education industry. We're just wondering, as panelists said, the AI will revolutionize in the education industry. Could you guys give me more specific examples or something area where you think is most likely to be happening in the next 5 years?
Static content on the learner experience in traditional online learning is a great example. Who's done online learning where you click next 17,000 times until you get to the stop point and then you answer the question 3 times until you get it right and you hit next? It's never relevant, whereas in-person learning, you have somebody that can ask how many of you are founders, how many of you are engineers, and we can tailor the content to the audience. we're going to see a lot of improved access to personalized learning content in the learner experience without having to create detailed branching scenarios, which was the only way that we could do that in traditional learning. Who else has ideas?
Just generally personalize everything. For us, it was like now anybody can create personalized fashion, and then we can make it ethical. So it's also like using AI that can to then these like hard skills, empower these hard skills. I think that's a really interesting place as well.
Yeah, I do think one thing, the biggest problem with education right now is screen time. So like, you have to be careful of not increasing screen time like by doing it. So it's a real balancing act, I think, how we like introduce technology to help students without, you know, to flick onto Minecraft or YouTube and spend another 6 hours there. So I think that's probably the big problem to solve in that regard.
Okay, and just one word as we finish up now. Do you believe in a Star Trek world or a Terminator world?
Star Wars world.
Oh, I like it.
Space Cowboys it is. The jury's out, I think, on that one.
Okay, interesting.
Can you tell the reference I'm wearing? Can you?
Star Trek.
Yeah, it was visualized by AI. But I don't know, actually. I am optimistic.
Okay.
I think, yeah, definitely the Star Trek world. I guess I wouldn't be putting all my eggs in the basket of AI if I thought we were going to go the other way. So, yeah.
Okay, I definitely recommend go to the Slack channel, watch the YouTube video that we've put up. It's quite informative. It kind of runs through this scenario of AI 2027. And again, it's like I say, for myself, it's the first video I've actually watched where I've gone, oh, okay, now I kind of, like, it can be a bit scary. But let's have a round of applause for our panel. In 2 weeks, we will be back here with Purpose Ventures, getting to a yes. And also, if you haven't checked out the Slack channel where we are going to be putting a lot of this information, get that QR code and scan it. If you haven't grabbed a coffee, grab it before you leave. I'll be closing the tab out before I leave here at 9 o'clock. Grab some food at the back. Massive thanks to Scott, Aaron, and Nina and our panel. See you again in 2 weeks. Thanks very much, people.
Everybody.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir.